Hi, Inez here, and welcome back to Core Growth Strategies, Positivity, and Success Stories. Today's guest is leading our kids to a brighter future with this inspiring team by giving a whole new approach to school assemblies, workshops, and summer camp. I am happy to have JD Wilson, founder of Lead You, on my show today. Hi, JD. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I see that. I mean, you are committed. You just got off of an assembly, and there you are sitting on the front steps, ready to go.
Yes, literally just right across the street. Just got done with an assembly, and so I apologize if my voice is a little hoarse, but we put everything we can into the assembly. So very, very happy to be here, though. Thanks so much for having me, Inez. I love this.
So tell me, all right. So you started and founded Lead You. So
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Sure. So my very quick backstory is I had 4 years in the military. I did 2 tours overseas. When I got out of the military, I knew I wanted to teach. That was just who I was. I knew I wanted to impact kids' lives. So naturally, I got right into teaching. I taught in the amazing city of Howell, New Jersey. I taught for 4 years. I taught 4th grade and 5th grade. Loved every minute of it. Love the kids, still miss the kids and seeing them grow, over the year. But I kind of found myself slowly wanting to, kind of teach those bigger lessons and kind of the bigger life lessons and the life skills to kids and doing it through a creative platform that I had a little more control over, basically. And kind of taking everything that I learned in the military and everything I've learned from my parents and the great upbringing I had, and just kind of putting that into a program and a company. So here we are on the steps, on the random steps of this school after finishing our, I believe that was a 193rd assembly now.
Now, that's fantastic. And I know you haven't, Lead You is not that old.
No, yeah, so we're just officially 2 years old. And I guess I always say 2 years because the first year was really quiet. I started it, and all I had was a whale logo and a company name, and nobody really knew what it was. And to be honest with you, I didn't know what it was yet either. So it just kind of was a new thing. And the first year was quiet, and then like anything else, I learned. There is no marketing per se for this if you're good at it. And people see that and the kids are impacted, then people talk. And I've been very fortunate that word of mouth has been our #1 way of getting the word out there, and people have been talking, and so far so good.
That's great. So what obstacles did you face? I mean, you went from totally quiet to boom, you're constantly working now.
Yeah. So I would say I'm very fortunate with the team I've surrounded myself with, the Lead You crew, because it does feel like a family, and everybody just kind of was figuring it out together. Some of the challenges for sure are the things that I'm not that great at, and it's okay to identify your flaws, and that is, the organizational structure of the company was something new for me. It's my first time starting an organization, starting a company. So a lot of the back office paperwork stuff, I was trying to do that and deliver the program and train my staff and make the t-shirts with my family. So it became something that I realized, hey, I need to find somebody who can help me with that. So luckily, like I said, I kind of started realizing we don't want the ship to sink, so you got to plug all the holes. And I'm very fortunate that we have a great director of finance, Joan Freiklos, surrounded by Kelly Colson, who's my director of operations as well. And my mom helps out, and so does my girlfriend with everything I need.
That's nice. So you weren't afraid to see or to seek out help for the areas that you weren't that strong in.
Exactly. And it's not to say that I wasn't willing to grow in those areas, and I think I actually have. But I think in the beginning, especially, surrounding people who can at least guide you and set up a framework for me to excel in, for the company to grow with. So yeah, the beginning was, it's a learning process, but like I said, so far so good.
What inspired you to start Lead You? How did you go from becoming a teacher, deciding this is what I want to do?
It's creativity and understanding that, I give kids a lot of credit, and I want them to know that. And through the assembly, I wanted them to realize, hey, like, you know, not everything can be answered on a test. And, you know, there's a lot of different ways to show your intelligence and to also show what a good person you are. And I found that, you know, with Lead You, it's a clean slate, and we can kind of create our own curriculum, which we have, and we can kind of set kids up to be successful and feel good about themselves, which exists in teaching. But for me personally, I wanted to kind of push the envelope a little bit for that and make the assemblies completely interactive and make sure it's completely engaging for the kids.
Yeah, I have a 12-year-old in school,
Right.
and I see they have an excellent academic curriculum. However, I don't personally feel there's enough room for creativity. It's still kind of that in the box thinking, even for something like math, which I believe obviously there's more than one way to get to an answer for anything in life, actually.
For sure.
But they're so structured that, no, this is the way you need to do it.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think because I was one of those kids, you know, growing up and realizing that math is not my strong point, and realizing, you know, luckily I had a teacher who helped me think outside the box and learn, not just through this traditional way of learning that we were raised, and helped me kind of realize that. She's actually our director of finance. My old teacher is somebody who helped me out with that. So she was one person definitely who was a huge influence on me and helped me learn that way. And I think, you know, now it is challenging, you know, and there's so much, there's just so many resources now with technology, like the positives of technology that kids can use for math. And there's so much more that you can do than just open up a book and practice these math facts, you know. And do these word problems. You know, there's so much more they can do. And I think education, you know, from what I've seen, and listen, I didn't teach very long. I was in it for like what felt like 5 minutes over those 4 years. But I think, you know, from what I've seen, the framework is getting there. You know, I know like the program we had had a lot of math centers and kids were moving around a lot. And you know, I think we're starting to get there for sure. But for Lead You, I just kind of needed to make sure that I could take any lesson and just kind of streamline it to that creative point.
Now it seems, I mean, like you said, in the last year, you're getting a lot more work. So are you finding that more schools are becoming more open to, you know, more creativity?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. You know, the number one thing we get after we leave, and it literally just happened inside these doors, was they said, you know, what are you doing next October? We want you back. Let's set the date up. Because I think schools are definitely, they see the results, you know, and I don't know, I guess education sometimes can be like a pendulum. It can swing too far one way and then maybe too far the other. And it's good to kind of, I think there's plenty of educators in schools that realize the good in being creative and having kids have that opportunity to create. So I definitely see that happening with what we're doing.
And a lot of it is not the teacher's fault in terms of not having enough creativity, because there's structure that they have to do it a certain way. And there's just so much pressure on scores, test scores. And so much anxiety for the kids and the teachers too.
You're absolutely right. And like for me personally, this is something that I firmly believe. I found teaching, and this is just for me, teaching was way more overwhelming than the military was. Which I think does a lot, you know. It was, and I'm okay admitting that for me personally, I couldn't keep up a lot of times. You know, I just felt like there was always something new on my desk. There was always a new program, always something I was trying to catch up. I mean, anybody who taught with me knows that I was running from like room to room, being like, "Wait, what about this? What are we supposed to be doing?" And for me personally, it is overwhelming. I give teachers a lot of credit for what they do, and also for the teachers that find the time to also infuse creativity into their lessons.
So give us some examples of, you know, different assemblies that you do. I know they're, you know, personalized for the schools and the age groups. Yeah,
so the whole idea behind Lead You, having sat through a lot of assemblies, is the last thing that I found my students want is for you to be lecturing all the time. So it's extremely interactive, and we personalize the experience. So let's say you were the principal of a school, and I would reach out to you and you wanted to book us. I would sit down with you. I'd also sit down with the guidance counselor teachers, anybody, PTO members, anybody who wants to help us build this program. And I say, what's going on in your school? What can I specifically do with my crew to build a program that makes sense for your students, that also would have true impact? You know, every school is different. Every culture is different. And, you know, I've said this 1,000 times, but I firmly believe that, because in the beginning I used to say that, but now that I travel school to school every day, you see that one school that's, you know, on Main Street, on one side of Main Street, is completely different than the school that's on the other side of Main Street, USA. You know, it's very different schools. So what's going on in your building? What's your culture like? How can we tap into that so it becomes something effective? Also, you know, a lot of schools have amazing character ed programs going on. And I can also take some of that information and say, how can we embrace whatever program you have going on at your school? And then what happens after that? We have that conversation, and then we decide, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to make this assembly happen. I show up with my Lead You crew, and we put on the assembly. And the way I would explain the assembly is kind of like a buffet. Okay. I love buffets and brunch. But so it would be very fast-paced, and it's kind of every 5 to 7 minutes we're jumping into the next topic. Kids they'll get up 1 second, move around, they'll play, have an activity, come back, we'll talk about that activity, and then we go into a little bit of a show, and then the show lasts for 5 minutes. Then from there, we jump back into an activity, and it's almost like the kids are trying to keep up with us, which I think it really leads to engagement, and that's why we have them. You know, the hook is constant. And so yeah, I think that's the framework. The content comes from the principals, comes from the guidance counselors. I will say, like, a lot of topics are very similar from school to school, especially, you know, cyber awareness, cyber bullying. And I think a great topic that we love doing assemblies on is the difference between a conflict and bullying. I think the word bullying can be used a lot. It's like a buzzword, you know, and I think that identifying, hey, you know, this is just a conflict. This is just a problem, you know, like, how do we work through this? This wasn't necessarily bullying, and kind of making sure that kids aren't overusing that term and realizing, hey, I'm very capable. One thing we just did like an hour ago is had all the kids say, think for yourself, and like really talk about, you know, you can think through some of these problems. It's not always, I got bullied and I need to go talk to a teacher, you know, and what is that line? Because there is that line, and maybe it is bullying, and do you know the difference between the lines? So yeah, lots of different topics for sure.
Yeah, I mean, clearly bullying is a huge topic. And I think overall, kids just need to learn how to communicate with one another. And a big thing I like to express, you know, especially with my own kids, is looking at different people's perspectives. It seems like everybody gets so, adults as well, they get so uptight if somebody disagrees with how they view the world or anything in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you nailed it with communication too. It's, you know, how are you, we do a huge activity relating to communication as well. Like, how do you talk to your friends when you're broken up into small groups? You know, eye contact, are you using the right words? And then, hey, if you're on the other side of that conversation, are you just waiting for your turn to talk? Or are you actually thinking about what the person just said? Yeah. Speaking, you know, and like, you know, it's like, it's breaking down these little mannerisms and these things really that we're doing. And it seems simple on some levels, but I think it goes a long way when you have time to stop and really think about the way you communicate with one another. So that's definitely one of my favorite topics that we go through, because it covers everything. You know, if you can't communicate, then, you know, that's going to ruin a lot of different lessons throughout the year.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think it's something that adults need to model as well for their children.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's something that can be tough, I think, especially with cell phones. And I think, you know, I'm not a parent. I'm like a decent uncle. I try my best. So like I always say, it must be really tough not only raising kids in this world with cell phones, but then being mindful, hey, like they're watching, you know, your actions and the way what you're doing. So if you're saying, you know, you're only allowed 5 minutes on the iPad, whatever it is, and then you yourself are meanwhile just scrolling, you know, it must be such a challenge. I give parents all the credit in the world, like yourself. I don't know how you do.
It's a constant learning thing. I mean, I have an older son too. So the way life was for him, they're 14 years apart, my kids, you know, it's a whole different thing with the younger one.
Right.
But it's also fun that when the younger one tries to pull these stunts, I'm like, listen, I've been through this already. I've already learned, so you're not getting anywhere. So, obviously, so tell me, you have a whole team of people that work with you, correct?
Yeah, the Lead You crew. We're up to, technically we have, I believe it's the numbers of 47 teaching artists that we have right now working with the Lead You crew as contractors.
Oh, wow.
I cannot say enough on the steps of this school right now about what an amazing crew they are, and now they have made the product what it is. You know, I've been very fortunate with the people I've surrounded myself with. These are just insanely motivated individuals who have one goal in mind, and that is to impact, to engage, entertain, and to empower kids. And their approach, and I think having different voices throughout the assembly really goes a long way as well. It's not me just saying, do this, do that. It's a complete team effort. And, you know, we have so much fun. And I think that's important. I think the teachers pick up on that, and the kids pick up on that. You know, they see that it is a little improv-y at times, and they see that we're dying laughing and that we're enjoying ourselves. And I think that just kind of sets a tone and a vibe in the room. So the Lead You crew right now, it comprises of, we call them teaching artists, and that essentially is, you know, anybody who, this is my definition, anybody who is in education, either a former teacher, current teacher, or aspiring teacher. Also anybody with any theater background, or anybody with who really just ultimately wants to influence a child in a positive way. That's the bar that we set. And right now, it's great because we have so many people on the crew. It's almost tough for me now because I only bring a certain amount of them, and a lot of them really just want to go. Or if they can't make it, you know, they're bummed that they can't make it because they know what a great experience it is. So yeah, that's the Lead You crew. You got to meet them. We have to do another one of these, and we'll have the whole crew here.
Oh, that'd be fine. That'd totally be fine. And I think what's important, what you said and all that, and which is attributed to your success, I'm sure, is that you're surrounding yourself with just like positive energy people, you keep it fun, and you're working as a team.
Yeah, and just eliminate the drama. And, you know, a lot of schools like have a no nonsense policy. We have like a full nonsense policy. Like, we just enjoy laughter. And it's like, you know, what can we do in the moment? I have a couple members of the team that they like to mess with me during the assembly, and little things they'll throw at me, and and that keeps it live. It keeps it fun. And I think that's kind of why it works. And it is all about who you surround yourself with. And I mean, that's just a life thing. It took me a while to kind of figure that out, to be honest with you. And, you know, if you're surrounding yourself with positive people, you know, your success will it's limitless, you know, so very lucky.
I think that's something a lot of us struggle with too, is because sometimes, especially if you're a good-natured person, you kind of feel that even there's a toxic person, and toxic doesn't mean that they have to be nasty to you. They could just be an energy drainer.
Yes.
And, but sometimes you feel guilty stepping away because then you're like, oh, you know, they need me, or
right.
How have you found, like, you know, in your experiences, how have you been able to separate from that?
It's tough for me because, you know, I give a lot of chances. And for me, I'm very fortunate that I've had somebody in my life, my girlfriend Brooke, who kind of, you know, she had that experience, and she told me, you know, it's like you have to realize the people in your life. And if you have an energy sucker, as you said, or somebody who's just kind of draining you, you know, that's not good for anybody. And sometimes you have to cut ties. And I feel like we're just talking about all my flaws today, which is great. But that is, no, but that's definitely one of them. Is you know, it's a learning process, and it took me a while to realize that the people around me, some of them wasn't healthy, you know, and wasn't emotionally healthy and wasn't mentally healthy for me. And it's hard to grow when you're being held back by that. So cutting ties, definitely a life lesson for this guy right here.
Oh, no. I mean, listen, I think it's for everybody. And I know you're a lot younger than me. Yeah. And I didn't learn till later on in life either.
Okay.
Yet, however, when I did learn to cut ties with, you know, the negativity in my life and toxic people, and some were like very long friendships where I just had to like let go.
Right.
I I mean, it was almost instantaneously that the minute I let go, all these positive people, it made room for all these positive, high energy, loving, supportive people show up. It just like came out of nowhere.
You're right. No, that's exactly how it happened for me. It was like, I was in a place in my life where I did, like, once I slowly start cutting ties, and it wasn't easy by any means. But once I did that, you're right. It just kind of like opens up. It's a good way of looking at it. It's like, you have a heart, and like, if you can make a little bit of room in your heart, all of a sudden you have more room for other people. And then what starts to happen is you start to recognize that. You start to recognize, hey, oh no, this is a positive person. There's room. Come on in. There's, oh, this is somebody who I want to be with. This is somebody I want to surround myself with. There's definitely room, and you start to realize.
And you know what? And that's something and I think that's something that everybody can relate to. And a lot of times they don't even realize it. But when I think, as part of this project is to let other people know that, hey, guess what? We're all going through the same thing, and you can get through it.
And what I feel very fortunate to I've met somebody like you as well, and just somebody who's kind of like-minded. And I'm noticing, even talking school-wise, creativity, like I'm noticing there is this culture and this movement that is happening. Yeah. And, it certainly didn't start with Lead You. I'm just realizing, hey, this is out there and we can add to this. We can embrace it. It's out there, and it's cool to be a part of, and hopefully. It
is. It's really exciting. And like you said, as I've gotten more deeper into this, I'm meeting so many more people that have the same exact mission. Yeah. And if we could get our word out there, like, hey, you know what? The world is not dark and terrible, and, there's so much beauty to it.
Yeah, there is. And, and I think that's what's good about working with kids is that if you get them young and you start, they start like feeling this when they're younger. Yeah. Maybe it doesn't take until, like me when I was like 33 to be like, oh, wait a minute, this is what's up, and so like, I think that's, so if you get them young, and that's kind of what our mission, that's where it goes is like, and then, we get welcomed back to schools. So then they keep seeing us throughout the years. That's the plan. It's like we continue to see them. We show up to schools now, and they're just like, they're yelling, hey, the whale people, whatever they call us. Like, we just show up, and they instantly know, hey, these are people I can trust. These are people that I can be silly with, and these are people I can learn from and with, and I think that goes a long way for long term. Absolutely.
And you do, correct me if I'm wrong, but you do some type of summer camp type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we've done, we do like a lot of high school leadership camps. They're sleepover camps, and we've done them, traditionally, that's kind of how we started, was with that. And now we've gotten to a point where other schools are jumping on and wanting to do them. It's like a 3-day camp experience, and you sleep over 2 nights. And I think what's great about that is it's just a completely different tone to when you have everybody in a different space, staying there, fully committed. I think the work you can get done with a group of students in that setting is tremendous. It's not just that 50 minutes in an assembly in school. It's somewhere outside of school, and you can really I think it goes a long way with them. So we've worked, we've done the camps at Villanova campus, also Chestnut Hill College. We work with a lot of different high schools in the area on that. And it goes really well. And I think because high school kids, we don't do traditional assemblies with high schools. I think you need to break them down. I think you need smaller groups for true impact. I just remember sitting through some assemblies in high school, and it's tough. There's like 300 kids in there, and the last thing you're with all your friends. You're trying not to buy in, but maybe you want to buy in. So I think breaking them up into small groups and doing more of a workshop model, or this summer leadership camp, really works for high school kids.
What is your experience with high school kids? Have you spoken to them in small groups? Have you done that already?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So my experience with high school kids is that they are extremely capable, and they're very clever, I guess would be the word that I would use. They know what's up. They know what's going on. They don't need you to lecture to them, but they have something inside that they want to talk about it. So what we would do with that is small groups, just setting up the conversation. And the way we teach the Lead You crew is like, how can you just facilitate a conversation? It's less about, put your fingers like this and say kindness. It's more just about like, oh,
Yeah.
like, let's talk about that. So making them feel comfortable to talk about some issues, like cyber awareness or like what's going on online.
Yeah.
Also making them feel comfortable talking about esteem, or probably my favorite lesson that we do with the high school kids is it's okay to be unique, and it's okay to be your own person, and it's okay to wear your own hat, and to not be influenced by others. I know this isn't anything earth-shattering. People have been talking about peer pressure for years, but I think putting them in the right position, really learn about that is tough, and it's not it's something that you have to kind of let them lead, but set them up,
I like that, because I think definitely with how strong social media is today, and there's so much good that comes out of social media as well.
For sure.
However, I think a lot of kids they're not being themselves. They're following everybody else. They want to, mostly celebrities, or they'll watch, the more popular kids, and they're afraid to express who they are because they're so concerned of everybody liking them.
100%. Yeah. Imagine what it's like to have, this other world, this cyber world, where, you talk to somebody in school and you think they're your friend, and then all of a sudden you see something completely different later, or, feeling left out, like when I would miss out on a Friday night or something, like if I didn't go to the football game or whatever, I'd hear about it Monday. Oh yeah, the game was cool. And then you just keep going on your day. And in that moment, you're seeing pictures about the football game, and they're filtered, and it looks awesome. And you're missing out, even though the team lost by 40, it was the greatest night ever. And you're living that, watching it. I think, again, it's, I give the kids a lot of credit, and I like kind of picking their brain about it.
Yeah.
But I will say this, we have found with our high school kids that they are, especially high school, they're starting to figure that piece of it out. I almost feel like there might be a shift happening with high school. Middle school, in our experience, they're in, like when it comes to cell phones they are in it, and they don't know which way they're going with it. And we try to do what we can to help them, and to just be confident to be their own people. High school, they get to that point where they kind of figured it out a little bit more. So that's just our experience. We've learned a little bit about it.
Yeah, I don't think enough parents, I'm going to put it on us, are taking enough responsibility to teach our kids how to use social media responsibly. And, and to understand too, even if somebody is having fun, they're not going to invite everybody. I know I have a lot of friends. When I go to dinner, I'm not inviting like an entourage of 30 people with me.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. And to be okay with that,
Right.
We'll see them next time. And are they your real friends if they're your friends online necessarily?
Yeah.
No, of course not. Not everybody. So,
I think kids are losing the definition of what a real friend is, because they're so, you go on somebody's like, oh, look, my son's got Instagram.
Yes.
And he's showing me one of his friends that has 3,000 friends. I said, he doesn't have 3,000 friends.
Right.
And he's like, yes, he does. I'm like, they're not real. Like, you have to understand that. There's maybe like 10 of them that are real people.
But I'm sure you can relate too, though. I mean, even as adults, it's just different. Like there is, no matter what, you're looking and you're thinking, wow, like this is, maybe they are somebody more popular than you because they have more followers and things like that. But like I said, I think there's definitely hope because I see it, especially with the high school kids, is we do a lot of unplugged stuff. In fact, we did a retreat with my staff. It took about, I think, 27 of us away for a 24-hour phoneless retreat. And it's tremendous what you can learn in 24 hours without a phone.
Wow.
From each other, true connection. And we're trying to set up some of our summer programs for that, like having a phone if there's an emergency that parents can call, but really disconnecting, unplugging for a little bit, and really kind of looking at the person that you're surrounding yourself with. Because you don't want to go too far the other way. You don't want to say cell phones or everything's negative. And
no, they're not.
But you definitely want to be mindful of how much you use them.
So any new projects in the way with Lead to You?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that we're pretty excited about. So we just did an amazing event this past weekend with Hackensack Meridian Health. It was called Women Rock. It was in Asbury Park, New Jersey at the convention hall. They do it. I believe this was the 3rd annual. I think they have another one coming next year. What an awesome, empowering event that was. It was about kind of mindfulness, Also, like the different pillars of health they involved in that, like wellness. And luckily, we took the stage and we had our moment up there to really hang out with them. That is something that's really exciting that's going on. We have a partnership with Six Flags Great Adventure. Six Flags does a lot of work with different organizations like ours, where they bring in companies to kind of put on these different activities and games. So check this out, and as we got to design a scavenger hunt in the theme park. For like thousands of kids. It was probably the most fun we've ever had. And they've welcomed us back to do that again. That's coming up in the spring. And I think what's great about Lead You is right now we've trained everybody. So while I'm always going to be a good part of Lead You, we have a second crew that's starting to go out. We have the Lead You van, which you'll start seeing pictures of, and we're going to start traveling this spring and doing kind of a tour. So I will say, if there are any schools out there in the East Coast or even as far out down south, we would love to come and show you what we're doing, because that's kind of the next step. Keeping it consistent here in Jersey, but continuing to grow with the message out there. That's what it's all about.
I'll tell you what, I mean, you've expanded a lot. 2 years is really quick. Yeah,
we're booked, every day up until Thanksgiving right now, and then December gets a little quiet, but we still have a decent amount in December, and then next year is already starting to fill up. So it's working. Like I said, if you have good people around you, other people recognize that.
That's great. Well, congratulations. I think everything you're doing is amazing, and it's so good for our kids in the community.
Well, likewise. I love what you're doing, and this is great.
So I guess anybody who wants to get in touch with you, go through your website?
Yeah, www.leadyouThere.com, LEAD, the letter U, THERE.com. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff as well. Right. You can kind of see our mission and what we're up to.
Fantastic. Hey, thanks again for taking time out of your day to join me. I appreciate it.
This is awesome. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thanks.